But don't you worry, if you were in a hurry, buy a Kurre and Klapow. Kurre and Klapow, no matter how your day go, they got a fresh new show today. It's Kurre and Klapow. Whether you up north of Gardendale or down south past Vestavia, turn up your sound and listen well, cause we got something to say to ya. Kurre and Klapow, they in the know, their topics covered A to Z. So whether you drive fast or slow, just sit on back and feel the beat.
Oh,
no. It's Kurre and Klapow.
Good morning. It's Turkey Week. It is Tuesday. It is November 23rd. Tony Kurre, the Kurre and Klapow Show. As you can see, where Dr. Josh at? Dr. Josh is again on one of his big worldwide jaunts to go see kids. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Got some rock and roll history today. Something was created on this date in 1899 that we've all used at one point in our lives, but we no longer use anymore, and I think we need to bring back. Plus, a good reason to get naked. We'll talk about that. And brushes to fame. I had a very interesting conversation this morning. Actually, it was a one-way conversation with a good friend of mine, Jeff Tyson, who works over at iHeartRadio. And if you listen to we talked a lot about Christmas music yesterday. If you listen to Magic 96 right now, it's all Christmas music, and it's great because you know it's there. I don't want to listen to it 12 hours a day, but if I'm hanging lights or I'm around the tree or we're going to see festival lights, it's a great thing to have, and it's nice to know it's always there. It's kind of like that girl or that guy that's always there for you whenever you need it, but it's not a long thing. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, he and I were at a charity auction probably 25, 30 years ago. And there was a bunch of autographed memorabilia. And there was one of Jodie Foster that was a picture, and I forget, I don't know if it was some contact or something. Anyway, it was an autographed picture of Jodie Foster. And so he knew I collected autographs, and he collected autographs. So we started going back and forth on it. And he ended up getting the Jodie Foster picture, and I think it was like $150. And he never went to pick it up. He never paid for it because he's a cheap ass. And so I called the guy who was running the charity. I said, listen, how long does he have to pay the $150 for this Jodie Foster thing? Because I'd like it, because I bid $125, and he came in last minute. I think it was after the thing ended. I think he chipped me on it. And he said, listen, if he doesn't pay within like next week or something like that, just call me up. And you can give me $150 for it, and you can have it. And so that's what I did. So I've been holding on to this Jodie Foster picture. Well, there was a great story that came out through a podcast about Jeff Van Gundy, who I watch on NBA on TNT. I think he does a fantastic job. Him and Mark and Ernie and all the guys, Chuck and all those guys do a fantastic job. It's must-see TV. It's one of the reasons I watch TNT and NBA. And he was describing, Jeff Van Gundy was on this podcast, about how he went to Yale. And Jodie Foster also went to Yale, and his brush with famous, or brush with the famous. And at that point, people knew who Jodie Foster was when she was going to college at Yale, and they knew she was going to be a big deal. And so him and 11 guys, sounds a little sexist, but consider the time and the culture. Him and 11 guys put $100 into a pot. And the first guy who could get a date with Jodie Foster would win the $1,200. Didn't have to get anywhere with her, just had to go on a date with her, right? So they all put $100 in. Well, Jeff tells a story about how he's sitting on this park bench on this busy corner outside this candy shop, and there is a bunch of sirens going by. And he's watching the sirens and super loud and everything else. And as he's sitting there, he's smelling the waft of popcorn that is blowing from behind him from this candy shop. And he's like, wow, the sirens are really loud. And right behind him, this woman says, man, doesn't that popcorn smell good? And he turns around, and it's flipping Jodie Foster. Again, this is when they're going to Yale. Having known that he put his $100 into this pot and everything else, and and rather than say, yeah, would you like some? Or, wow, it does smell good. You smell good too. Or, boy, I bet you it'd be fun to lick some butter off your fingers. Whatever you could say, right? Instead, he just looked back at her, freaked out, and just ran, right? And he just ran back to his dorm room, locked his door, and freaked out. So we were talking about brushes with famous people because you never know we see these stories where famous people actually go out with millennials or go out with peasants like ourselves, people like whatever. And it's a great story. And so I'm wondering if you have any stories out there this morning that you, and by the way, Brandon Moore just checked in. Hey, Brandon, if I was wondering if you had any stories where you had brushness with famous people. Get on our Facebook page and let me know. I've certainly met a lot of famous people. I will tell you right now that I could have gone out with Dawn Wells, the old Dawn Wells. She's dead now. I had a chance to go out with her. She was on our show about 3 or 4 years ago. She was at the World of Wheels Custom Auto Show, custom cars and TV stars. She was at the gig signing autographs. I think she was like 78, and she was on our show. And I had talked to her before we went on. She was a delightful woman. She was great. She's one of the top 50 sexiest women as voted by everybody in the world. But again, she was 78 years old. I'd probably be rubbing her feet and cutting off her corns. But still, it's Dawn stinking Wells, right? And I'll do anything for ratings. You know that about me. And so after we got off the air, she said, hey, listen, I'm in town for a couple days here in Birmingham. It seems like a delightful town. And I'd love it if someone would show me around. And she lives out in Hollywood. And I said, oh. And I didn't catch the hint. And I said, oh, well, and I was 50. And she goes, maybe we have a cup of coffee. Have a cup of coffee somewhere, one of your favorite coffee place, and just see what happens. That's what she said, and see what happens. And, of course, I was married at the time. And I'm not married now, so I'd go out with her, but she's dead. And I was like, man. And so I said, let me see if I can find somebody. So about 5 minutes later, it hit me. I thought, oh, my gosh, I think Dawn Wells just hit on me. I think Dawn Wells wanted to go out and have a cup of coffee with me. And still, I know she's 78 years old, and she doesn't look like the Dawn Wells that we saw in Gilligan's Island making, coconut cream pies and stuff. But it's still Dawn Wells. It would be fun to go out and just, stretch her brain a little bit, find out what the woman's all about, and just have a nice cup of coffee with her. Just saying. I've never made out with a 78-year-old, and I'm not saying I would. So I was reaching out to one of my radio partners out of Greco who was doing the show, and I said, you're single. Why don't you go have a kid? He's like, I'm not going to go out with Dawn Wells. I said, why not? It's Dawn stinking Wells. Just to say you went out and had dinner or a cup of coffee with Dawn Wells would be cool, right? That's why I got this Julie Andrews thing. Julie Andrews is like 117 years old. If she called me right now and said, take me out for a cup of coffee, I'm in. Something about the nun thing and the umbrella and the sound of music. I just think she's hot, and the accent and everything else. I think she's smoking hot. So that was happening. And then another time, Victoria Jackson. You remember Victoria Jackson from Saturday Night Live? She was in town doing some stand-up at the Comedy Club Stardome. And Bruce Ayers had called me and said, would you mind getting Victoria? I said, no, I'd love to have Victoria Jackson on the show. She came in the studio, and she was just like her characters on Saturday Night Live. She was kind of aloof. She was funny. She was really smart. She's one of those girls that's like super, super, super smart, and she just kind of comes across as this ditzy blonde, but she wasn't ditzy at all. She was like super smart, really nice, and really attractive, by the way. You see her on television, you're kind of like, she's blonde hair, but in person, wow. I mean, come on now. And she also asked me, I don't know, something about a cup of coffee. I don't know why it's the coffee thing. I think if you say you want to go out and have a cup of coffee with somebody, that's not a date. That's like you want to go have a cup of coffee and just kind of shoot the shit about politics or whatever, or show me around town. But if you go out for a drink, most people don't drink at 11 o'clock in the morning. Most people. So if you say I'm going to go out and have a drink with you, then it's like that's a date. That's what I would assume is the dating protocol these days. If someone says, hey, you want to go out and have a cup of coffee? That is like, I'm not really sure if I want to step into the pool yet. I want to see what the temperature is, and then we can always make it go through. And usually a cup of coffee is in the middle of the day. It means you got to go back to work, right? But if you ask someone, hey, you want to go have a drink? That's a nighttime thing. And then the only way you can get out of it is going, I got to let the dogs out. My kids are up. I got to get home. One of those things. So Victoria Jackson was another situation. And again, I was unavailable at the time because I was married for 17, 18 years and I couldn't do it. Anyway, but if you have any brushes of fame, I'd love to hear it from you. Go to Tony Curry Radio. Tony Curry Radio on social media, Twitter, as well as Facebook. And we're on Facebook Live on the Tony Curry page right now. And let me know what your brushes of fame are. I think that's hilarious. Jodie Foster has always been one of those just impeccable, incredibly smart. She went to Yale. She's just beautiful. She's still beautiful. She does a fantastic job. Hey, I got a lot of brush back yesterday about the Santa Claus thing I said. And in case you didn't listen to the Kurre and Klapow show, we're on from 7:30 to 9:30 here on the Tony Curry Radio Network. You can get the Tony Curry Radio app. It's super easy. Just get the app. Just download it today. Everyone just download it today. The tens of thousands of people that are already listening, maybe you're listening on a laptop, but download the Tony Curry Radio app. It's super cool. It's super clean. It's 24 hours a day of classic rock. We have special shows. We'll have the Damon Johnson show replay at noon today. But every night of the week at 8 o'clock, we have another special show tonight. It's called Adapt or Perish. It's a great business show with Dr. Alex Hubline and Dr. Josh Klapow. Tomorrow night we do the Live Wire Wednesday. It's all AC/DC for an entire hour. Thursday we do Blues Almighty, and I screwed up last week and I played the old show. So this Thursday night, 8 o'clock, Matt Sorum of Guns N' Roses and Velvet Revolver will be on the air with Austin Hanks. It's his show, Austin Hanks Blues Almighty, that goes on at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. It's a fantastic blues show. If you love blues music and you love classic rock and they mash up together, it's a fantastic show. And then, of course, the Damon Johnson show, which is going to be coming up this Friday night. That is just, it's unbelievable. It's just a great show. We'll talk about that as well. That show goes off at 8 o'clock right here on the Tony Curry Radio. So every night of the week, and then we do replays at noon. So I was talking about Santa Claus. I went up to the Oxford Festival of Lights. They used to do that Shadrach thing out there at the Birmingham Racecourse, and I loved it because it was closer to the house. And, you know, for like 45 minutes, Christmas lights are perfect for kids. You always want to drive because I'm driving. Leave me alone, I'm driving. The kids leave you alone. You're drinking your hot cocoa. You just put the car in neutral and you're just riding through the parking lot. You're looking at lights and it's kumbaya. There's no one crying. Everyone's happy. It's fantastic. So I drove to Oxford because they don't do the Shadrach thing anymore. I went to Madison. And we're driving through and it's fantastic. It's great. We get there and they have the world's largest snowman. By the way, they're not spending money with Tony Curry Radio. And by the way, Larry Smith, thanks for watching this morning. And I don't know if they would spend money with us, but I'm just telling you, it's a great event. It's a great thing. They got food trucks there. They got a bunch of slides, and since COVID's gone, you don't have to wear masks and stuff. It's great. They have ice skating. You can ice skate. My daughter skated for the first time. And so we always save Santa Claus for the last thing because you save the best for last, right? And so last year, my daughter said to me, I got a question about Santa Claus. I'm like, oh, here it comes, right? Because we know Santa Claus is real. And I said, what you got? And she says, I know the Santa Claus here is probably not real. And I said, what are you talking about? She says, I know Santa Claus can't be everywhere at one time. He's not like Jesus, although he's got some Jesus overtures to him. And I said, correct. She said, so I know he hires out other people to play him so kids can sit on his lap, and then those Santa Clauses go to the Santa Claus, and they drop the list. I said, exactly. You're super smart. My 9-year-old is so smart. So I said, yeah, that's right. She goes, do you think this year the real Santa Claus is here? I said, well, let's go take a look. So we get in there. Last year, the Santa Claus looked like Barney Fife. He was super skinny, had some suspenders. His pants wouldn't stay up. Looked like Santa Claus from the neck up. From the neck down, not so much. And I said, well, Santa Claus ain't fat all year. If you've seen the Santa Claus show, you realize Santa Claus is coming to town, the cartoon, right? The computer animated thing. I said, he packs on the weight 2 or 3 weeks prior to Christmas. I mean, he just pounds it. He's like on a swimming team, right? I mean, he's eating carbs and fat, and Mrs. Claus is just shoveling it down his throat, and it's coming out his ass. I mean, and then he gets really fat because he has to have all this energy, and then he gets thin again. So anyway, so we see the Santa Claus, and it's Santa Claus. And she knows I know Santa Claus. I've got Santa Claus on speed dial. I've known Santa Claus for a long period of time. I actually met the Santa Claus about 25 years ago. I'm friends with Santa Claus. We talk throughout the year. He's a huge classic rock fan. He's got Santa Claus has got the Tony Curry Radio app. The Santa Claus has got the Tony Curry Radio app. He loves classic rock. loves the Run Rudolph Run from Chuck Berry, loves all that stuff. So after we do the sitting on the lap and talking to Santa and stuff, he looks at me, he goes, hey, Tone. I said, yeah. And he goes, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, sure, what you got? My daughter's eyes were like this big. She's like, what's going on? I said, Santa Claus wants to talk to your dad for a minute. Just give me a second, right? And then Santa Claus looks at me and he goes, hey, would you mind if I have a moment alone with your dad? And so my daughter is freaking out. Her eyeballs are like bowling balls. She's like, holy crap, what's happening here? So I said, Daddy will be with you in a minute. So she walks out. There's plenty of stuff to go on. So Santa Claus says, listen, it's been a super tough last couple of years. COVID has killed a lot of other Santa Claus helpers because they're older. They haven't gotten a chance to get out. And these Santa Clauses are service people. I mean, they're almost military for me. They're like police officers, they're like nurses, they're like doctors, they're like firefighters, they're first responders. They're a service to the people, and spiritually speaking, they're wonderful. We need Santa Clauses, right? He says, man, I got to tell you something. It's been really, really tough the last couple of years. He said, even before COVID, it's been super tough on Santa Claus. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I just don't feel the spirit anymore. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, he said, a lot of parents won't let kids sit on my lap anymore. He said, because the Me Too thing, they don't know who I am. And of course, I'm Santa Claus. And he said, and it breaks my heart. And he said, and I can feel it more from the parents than I can from the kids themselves. The kids want to come up and sit on my lap. They want to tell me. They want to talk to me. And this Santa Claus is great because it's not like, a Christmas story where it's like, okay, get off. Go. Okay, great. You want a ball? Get the hell out of here. He actually likes to talk to kids. And he's the Santa Claus, so he's the best, right? I mean, he's got all the time in the world. Dude can deliver something like a millisecond right at a house. So his time is it's a time continuum. You can talk to Santa Claus for 15 minutes and it feels like it's 3 seconds. And so he said, it's really breaking my heart because I'm just seeing and feeling this friction between parents and their kids and Santa Claus now. And he goes, I'm really starting to believe that people don't believe in me anymore and that the spirit of Christmas is gone, and it's really unfortunate. And I said, wow. And then he almost had a tear in his eye. And I felt horrible for the guy. And I said, well, he goes, you got a very successful radio show. You do the Tony Kurre radio thing and the Tony Kurre radio app with Dr. Josh and everything else. And he says, man, would you please get the word out? Let people know that I'm here and that I have not lost my spirit and I am ready to go. And if people want to come see me or wherever I am, please come to me, pray for me, and pray that it's going to be a wonderful Christmas year. And I said, done deal, Santa Claus. I said, I will be your little elf and I will spread. So a lot of people reached out to me yesterday and they said, well, that's just not true. And I said, when was the last time you went and saw Santa Claus? And even when your kids get older, I got a 17-year-old, right? Even as your kids get older, I still think it's important for us to believe in the belief of Santa Claus because it means hope, it means prosperity, it means faith, it means love, it means prayer, it means all these wonderful things that, quite frankly, we need a hell of a lot more of in this world right now. We always want to question everything. We're having a fight on what's better, dressing or stuffing. I mean, come on. Eat both. Do I want raisins in my stuff? Whatever. We're questioning things. There's all this information coming at us constantly. We're questioning everything. There's conspiracies. There's people. We got people right now that are still waiting down in Texas, and they're waiting for JFK Jr. to arrive to announce he's running for president. The dude died like 15 years ago. They think that he's going to show up. They got the body and everything. He died. He died in the plane crash, remember, in New York? He died. And they think there's like 500 people standing there on the overpass on the grassy knoll right now. Right now. Go look it up. They're standing there waiting for JFK Jr. to show up and be the running mate of Donald Trump in 2024. And then Donald Trump will give up the presidency once he wins, or so they believe. And then JFK Jr. will be the new president of the United States, and then Donald Trump can be the king. You got people believing that shit, but they don't believe in Santa Claus. What? David Hines, welcome in this morning. Go figure. We got people that are willing to believe that garbage, but they don't believe in Santa Claus. So I'm just telling you, your kids will believe in whatever you believe in for as long as you want to believe in it. That's all I'm going to say. I think the kids are much more receptive to things that they aren't really sure about, obviously, when their parents believe in it. And I believe in Santa Claus, and I believe everything that is Santa Claus, if you know what I mean. And I think we can make it more special for our kids and our family, and even my 17-year-old who thinks he knows better, but he doesn't, because my 17-year-old was a late bloomer. He figured the whole Santa Claus thing out around 16. But now he believes more than ever. He knows Santa Claus is more than just a body. It's more than just some old dude hanging out in some shack up in the North Pole. So anyway, so if you want to get a chance to get out, I know it was really difficult last year, and a lot of Santa Clauses, it's really hard for Santa Claus to ask you questions when you're sitting behind a piece of plastic. I know it sucks. It's the world we live in right now, but it's a lot different now, and I think it's open. So if you get a chance, go out there and do that and go see your favorite Santa Claus. Santa Clauses need it, man, because Santa Clauses were put on this earth. It's not just a money grab. This Santa Claus is like, listen, I make about $25,000 in November and December. Now, he's the real Santa Claus, so he doesn't make anything. He said, but all my Santa Clauses that work for me, they do it for free. They do it for free just to see the joy, the screaming, the crying, the prodding, all the stuff that comes from kids. And for whatever, the other thing I think is important too, is I think it's super important that parents and adults say hi to Santa Claus. I can't wait to see Santa Claus. Whenever I know there's a Santa Claus somewhere, I'm driving another 50 miles just to go see Santa Claus, shake his hand and go, Santa Claus, I wish you the best of seasons. Thanks for all you do. And I think kids need to see that. So that's something just to think about. Got some great stuff going on today. Happy birthday to Miley Cyrus, by the way, today. I can't really figure out what I think about Miley Cyrus. She turns 29. By the way, Robin Roberts, a Tuskegee native right here from the great state of Alabama. She's 61. Bruce Hornsby, who played piano there for the Grateful Dead for a while, and of course had a nice solo career, 67, and Kelly Brook, model, she's 42. Miley Cyrus is 29. Normally, anybody that would want to get into classic rock or sing classic rock, I'm cool with, because they realize that classic rock's been around for 60 years and it's not going anywhere. It's great. Classic rock, people like there's been a resurgence of classic. There hasn't been a resurgence of classic rock. Classic rock's been around forever. It's not going anywhere. Linda Brooke, by the way, good morning to you, Linda. Thank you for listening this morning and watching. Classic rock, every single time I turn around, I'm hearing More Than a Feeling from Boston. I swear I hear that song like once a day. Maybe it's just in my head. I just hear it every single day, and that song's been out for 50 years. Rolling Stones, still on the road. It's so still relevant. So when I see a Miley Cyrus come out and try to do mashups with Joan Jett, Billy Idol, she's out singing rock and roll from Led Zeppelin, I'm like, that's good. But for some reason, man, I just can't get past the lounge lizard feel. And I know she can sing. I know she's had some singles on her own, the whole Wrecking Ball and stuff like that. And I'm trying to figure out what in the hell Miley Cyrus is doing and whether I'm digging it or not. What is she doing? I mean, she's still incredibly relevant. She's out there doing her Instagram stuff, and she's got the tongue out, and she's half naked every time you see her. And she can sing, but I'm like, why don't you just kind of stick to your genre, do your thing? But then I'm like, if she wants to sing classic rock, she can. It's okay. A nudist society has come out just in time for the holidays, and I'll be the first to admit the pandemic has not been good to us. We're drinking more, we're drugging more, we're having a good time, we're finding vices. The one thing that we have not done real well is watch our weight, because we've been Zoom calling, we're doing virtual everything, we're not going back to work. I think the last thing I saw is the average person who gains weight will gain 29 pounds through COVID. 29 pounds. I've packed down about 3 or 4 pounds, and when I get to about 220, man, I'm like, I'm not doing this, because I know once you get going, it's really hard to get it back. It's hard to get that. And at the age of 55, everything starts to fall. You start to drag down a little bit. I'm like, I am not going back to that 230, 240 Tony Curry. I'm sticking at 220, and I'm going to try to get to 210. On top of that, the average United States citizen will gain 8 pounds between now and the end of the year. So if you've already gained 29, go do the math. We're going to be fat as crap. We're not going to be in good shape. So this society that believes in just plain birthday suits has come out with reasons why we need to be nude more. I sent out a picture, by the way, on my social media. If you look at it real quick, it looks like just nudity, doesn't it? Did you see the picture? I was doing the camera for the show this morning for Facebook, and we're on Tony Kurre Live and, of course, the radio app. And I looked at it, and I took a picture of the inside of my hand by accident. Thank goodness, because my phone was in my pocket, and I took it out, and I'm wearing underwear, so I know it couldn't have been that. And it looks like a nude body, but it's not. And I was like, this would be a good story. So health experts now explaining why we should all be taking our clothes off over the holidays. And I'll give you a reason. I'm not one of these people now. I just recently went through a divorce. I have this 7-on, 7-off thing with the kids, which is really, really hard, but I'm adapting. And so the week my kids are here, it is all kids. It is all play. We're 24 hours a day. We're getting after it. And then as soon as the kids are gone and they left yesterday, I am working my ass off. I mean, if you put a camera on in the house, it probably looks like I'm on meth. I'm just walking around, picking things up, working here, doing this, paying a bill, walking the dog, cutting the grass. I mean, I'm just constantly staying busy until it gets dark at 3:30 in the afternoon. But I have found that when you're alone in a house and you're used to having a lot of chaos and kids and wife and all that stuff, that you can do whatever the hell you want. So last night I took a shower and I had some laundry in the other end of the house. And normally I would put my underwear on and my bottoms and I'd go grab a T-shirt. And I thought, I can walk through the house naked right now and no one's going to know. It's kind of like that Friends episode when Jennifer Aniston just starts walking around naked. I said, I can do this. So I walked around and I walked down to the laundry room and I got my clothes and I thought, why should I put my clothes on? I'm here alone. Now, I'm a little weirded out about sitting naked in furniture. But I just take a shower, so I was clean, so I was like, yeah. So I got my recliner naked for the first time last night. I laid back and it was nice. I'm just telling you, it was really nice. By the way, Richard just said he's lost 30 pounds since COVID hit. That's happened to a lot of people, too. Tawny Johnson is watching this morning. Good morning, Tawny. Yeah, some people have lost weight. Some people put it on for different reasons. So I get in my recliner and I'm sitting there and I'm lying there naked. And I thought, okay, this is silly. Put some clothes on. What if someone comes to the door? And I'm like, no one comes to my door because you know my thing about people coming to my door. I don't answer the door unless people call me ahead of time. If you're going to come see my house or you're going to come over and see, the Tony Kurre Radio Studios, which you're welcome to do. It's a business. Just call me ahead of time. Say I'm coming over because I don't answer the phone unless, of course, someone calls ahead of time and says it. So I'm laying there and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is kind of nice. It kind of feels kind of good. It's kind of like when you take your socks off. People that go to bed with socks on, I don't get you. But when you take your socks off at the end of the day and that skin, because you got a lot of nerve endings on your feet, and it feels good when it rubs up against the blankie, you know what I'm saying? It rubs up against the sheets, and you're kind of rubbing your feet together, and you don't even know you're doing it because it feels good, right? Well, imagine your entire body doing that. So I was like, all right. So I'm lying there, and then next thing you know, Brian Les, by the way, says happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving there, Brian Les of the Taylor Hicks Band. Good morning to you, my brother. We need to get together and have one. And I'm sitting thinking to myself, I'm just going to lie here and see how long I can lie here before I finally realize that I'm uncomfortable enough being naked that I need to get up from my chair. Next thing you know, I fall asleep, and I wake up like 11:30 last night, and I forgot that I had no clothes on. And I got up, and I walked back to the bed, and I start getting up. I'm like, what am I doing? And I didn't even realize I was naked. I'm just telling you, you should try it. It's good. So these health experts are saying that it's wonderful to take your clothes off around your mate as often as possible. Now, one of the reasons you do that, obviously, is to initiate more intimacy in your relationship. Depending on what you look like, your wife may not want to see you walk around naked. You can only suck in so much. Remember the Seinfeld episode where he's dating the woman and she's always naked and she's like grinding and moving and she's down by the bicycle and he's like, ugh. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that, by the way. And I have dated some women in the past that seemed like they were incredibly comfortable just walking around with no clothes on, which I had absolutely no problem with. But in some cases, they're like, put some clothes. If your mate says put some clothes on, it's kind of sad. Because I'd say, take your clothes off, and I will. I'll put some clothes on. They're saying it's a great time to not only create some intimacy in your life, but it also bears your soul in that you are totally vulnerable. And you're more willing to distinguish your fears, your happinesses, and all the things that are good and bad in your life when you're just stripped down and naked. They also say it's a great time to inspect moles. So I'm walking around the house naked. I ain't inspecting moles. Although, this is where my mind thinks. I'm thinking, hey, you got a little something over there on the back of your leg. You know where I'm going here? You got something on it? Let me take a closer look at that. A mole could be a good thing. Should be on the lookout for signs for melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer. It's on the rise in women. There's a 25% of cases in women for moles, melanoma, before the age of 40. Every week you should do a full body check for moles that are asymmetrical, have irregular borders, have changed in color, are larger than a pencil top or rubber. And again, that may be one of those, hey, mole check. We used to do mammograms around here like once every 3 or 4 days, just in case. It also says you can help beat heart disease when you are a little overweight, and maybe you're one of these COVID cats that's gained a lot of weight over the holidays. It's a great opportunity to see exactly what you look like. I had mentioned to Dr. Josh the other day, I wish there was some kind of machine or something where it could take a scan of your body, a 3D scan of your body, then create a mold of your body just from the neck down, and then you get to touch it, and you could see what other people feel. Because I don't think, this back part, the muffin top that comes out of the back of your pants, that's the first one that goes. When your shirt starts to get untucked in the back, your ass is getting fat. Period. If you can't keep your shirt tucked in, you got issues. And don't go the tucked in thing. Don't go the extra long shirt. So it just, if you're tucking your shirt in down to your knees, you're getting fat. But when you see yourself in the mirror, walking by the mirror, and you're just all in your glory, and you're not sucking in, and you're not trying to look good for a picture, you realize that maybe you're not in the shape you need to be. And by changing that weight, you can beat heart disease. It also says, and this is a big one here too. I'll tell you something about you ladies out there. It's not always what you look like. It's not how pretty your hair is. It's not your eyes, your lips. It's not your butt. It's not your boobs. It's none of those things. It's your posture. There's nothing that turns a man on more than a woman who's got great posture. If a woman just stands up straight, her boobs will go up a cup size. You go from a B to a C like that, like a heartbeat. I'm just telling you. Posture is super important. Posture is super important, and I don't have the best posture. I have a bad back. But posture is real important, and it's sometimes if you're watching yourself, it's like if someone takes a video of you walking on the beach, you're like, what the hell am I doing? Look at me. I look horrible, right? Posture is super important, and of course, obviously, if you correct that posture, it can help with your back pain, help with spine stuff. It can help with headaches, all kinds of different things, so keep that in mind. It also mentions the fact, and I don't know why you'd want to do this, but you can check out any irregular rashes or any bruising. It also helps with swelling. In other words, if you just stand there in all your glory and you're just sitting there naked, you can see all your inadequacies, which really doesn't sound like a good idea. So forget I even brought this story up. Trying to think the last time, though, I had a date or was with a woman that was comfortable enough that could just walk around naked in the house with me being naked. That could be something that you could do as a Christmas gift to each other. You should try that. Tony Curry Radio every single night of the week, 8 o'clock. We have special programming tonight. Dr. Alex Hubline and Dr. Josh Klapow do a show called Adapt or Perish. It's a great business show. They do mainframe stuff and IT, and it's a mashup of classic rock and business. And if you want to, Nick Saban said it a couple weeks ago. He called it adapt or die. You either adapt to the systems that are coming at you because people are constantly trying to knock you off, and that's what businesses are like. You either adapt or you die. You have to learn to adapt. You can still stick to your guns. This is how we're doing it. You can have that mainframe or that platform, that foundation of how you do things. That's fine, but you must adapt in business. That show's going off at 8 o'clock tonight. Livewire Wednesday brought to you by Southern Precision Staffing for all your staffing needs. Precision Staffing, Southern Precision Staffing is great. Kai Greger is a good friend of mine. 205-682-2828, 205-682-2828. Well, your handshake and your words still mean something. They're right here in Hoover, Alabama, but they serve the United States of America just like Tony Curry Radio does in the Tony Curry Radio app. So check them out, Southern Precision Staffing. They bring you Livewire Wednesday. It's a full hour of all AC/DC. We have somewhere close to 40,000 people that listen to that show just in Sydney, Australia. It's crazy. It's our most listened to show. We do it every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. If you love AC/DC, man, it's killer. It's fantastic. Then Thursday night, Blues Almighty with Austin Hanks. I screwed up last week and played the wrong episode of Blues Almighty. This Thursday night on Thanksgiving, you're watching football. You got the elastic pants. You just gained your 29 pounds during COVID. Listen to Blues Almighty at 8 o'clock with Austin Hanks. Austin's a good friend of mine. Used to be in Slick Lily. He's now in the Big Bad Blues Band with Billy F. Gibbons. That Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. Billy was actually on the show a couple weeks ago. He's got Matt Sorum, who had a birthday last week. Matt, of course, the drummer for Guns N' Roses on 3 of their albums in Velvet Underground. The guy's Velvet Revolver. The guy's unbelievable. He joins the show on Thursday night. And then, of course, on Friday, we're going to get after it with the Damon Johnson show. Damon Johnson does a show with us every single week, and it's just a wonderful show. He will get after it again Friday night right here at 8 o'clock. Going to take a short break. When I say a short break, we're playing classic rock. It's really no break at all. We're going to get after it. Thanks for watching us. Teresa Ponder is right now. She's writing something. She wants to watch. I'm sorry, I can read something. Tony Curry Radio, the Curry and Klapow show. I love that tune. You never, ever hear that song. When I started putting together all the music for Tony Curry Radio on the Tony Curry Radio app, I went through all my tunes that, quite frankly, I'd never played on the radio that I thought, man, this is killer. Why don't we hear these songs? And I went back to my MTV days. I'll just tell you right now, Can't Happen Here, some Rainbows, Hot Rockin'. I mean, all those tunes when videos. That song was huge, man. You'd see that song like 3 or 4 times a day, and then you don't ever hear it on the radio. I'm like, why? That song gets after it. Don't pretend you don't like it. It's all right. I remember the video, too. I posted that video several months ago, and it's all members of the band basically naked working out. Okay. At that time, I didn't know Rob Halford was gay, but it was okay. But he still gets after it. By the way, if you ever get a chance and you're a reader, go pick up Rob Halford's confessed autobiographical read. Jeez, man. For some reason, everyone's coming out with books. I know the Will Smith book is big right now. Everyone's talking about it. He just came out yesterday and said that he got a $10,000 loan from a drug dealer to pay off his IRS taxes. Man, everyone's writing books. Paul McCartney's thing's going off right now. Everyone's writing and reading and talking and just like getting after each other, and I love it. And that book from Rob Halford, even if you're not a Judas Priest fan, just read that book, and if you want to know what it's like to be in a rock and roll band, read that book. Being in a rock and roll band as a gay man, in a heavy metal band, being gay. See how that goes over like a turd in a punch bowl. Fantastic read. He talks about Kiss in it, talks about Shannon. It just goes on and on and on. It's fantastic. I am Tony Curry. Dr. Josh Klapow's off today. He'll be back again on Monday. He's off for Thanksgiving. I've been going back and forth with my good friend Jeff Tyson from Magic, and I was asking him if he was off this week. He's on vacation. He said, "Are you working?" I said, "Of course." Got Tony Curry Radio, man. It's 24 hours a day, and I said it's in the house, so I just run downstairs and do my work and go take the rest of the day. So we'll be here every single day this week, including, of course, Thanksgiving morning. A lot of people, I'm an early bird. I like to get up early in the morning. I like to start my day, and that goes for Thanksgiving. I'm going to make a turkey this year for the first time. I tried the turkey thing. It pisses me off because my mom could make a hell of a turkey. My sister can make a great turkey. I mean, a killer turkey. Like one of the turkeys where you're just picking it off the bones before it even comes out of the oven. Whenever I've made a turkey, it just never is really good. It almost turns like the Griswold's turkey. The thing just breaks open. It's dry. It's a little dry. So I'm going to give it another shot this year. I went to Publix and got me a Butterball yesterday. And I was checking out, and one of the workers were like, "Why are you getting a Butterball?" And I'm like, "Because it's Butterball." They're like, "Get a Publix turkey. It's half price." I'm like, "Really?" Publix turkeys right now, 49 cents a pound. Thaw it, put it in some water, 7 hours a pound, you're good to go. Just letting you know. But the person up there told me I could just leave it out on the counter, and you don't ever want to thaw a turkey in regular heat. Make sure you put it in water or something like that. It's not good. You'll get salmonella to kill you. So I'm going to try that turkey thing, but I also tried the frying the turkey thing, because I figured it's really hard to screw up. Anytime you fry anything, it's always good because it's just fat. It's just all that grease and stuff in there, and it just makes it juicy. That's why fried chicken, it's really hard to screw up fried chicken. It's really hard. Now, you grill chicken, baked chicken, you can dry it out. But when you fry anything, it's like fried Oreos. I mean, that's like, you can't screw that up anyway, but you fry anything, it's going to be delicious. I haven't done the air frying thing yet. Everyone keeps talking, I got to do an air fryer. But again, when you watch the commercials, it's microwave safe and wash her clean, and it looks so easy to take it apart and put it in there. And man, if you ever get a turkey fryer, it's a pain in the ass. You got to get the fat, and you got to boil it, and if you're into this kind of things, and again, I like to cook and I like to grill out, and I'm all about the preparation, and I'm all about that stuff. But maybe I'll get my fryer back out. Should I get my fryer back out? And you don't ever want to put a frozen turkey in a fryer, dude. You're talking about fireland, man. You don't want to do that. I'm just give a little bit. I hope you're giving a lot this holiday season. I hope you're thankful for everything you got going on in your life. I think a lot of people don't realize just how blessed you are. I am. Humility is a wonderful thing in life. When you go through tough times, and I'm not BSing you here, but when you go through tough times, it lets you know just what you're made of. And I think for the most part, most of us, even if you're hurting right now, we're incredibly blessed. I do think it's okay to look at people that have it a lot worse than you to realize just how good you actually have it. But there's a lot of people that actually have it really good that are just bitching and moaning about the smallest things right now, and it pisses me off. I can't really do anything about that, but I'm like, wait till you get in a situation where you got nothing and you're starting all over again to see how difficult it is. Just letting you know. So be thankful this holiday season. I hope you get a chance to spend a lot of time with your friends and family. Try to be careful with the COVID, the crap, and get after it. I ran into a woman yesterday who was not vaccinated. I was like, okay, I'm kind of over the whole vaccination thing. I'm like, all right. And I said, why? And she goes, I'm reading a lot about things and don't really think it's a good idea. And I said, okay. And she said, because of that, my kids aren't going to come see me for Thanksgiving. I said, well, then that's the way it is. She goes, well, it sucks. I can't. I said, well, if you're not going to get vaccinated and your kids are saying they're not going to come see you unless you're vaccinated, then you understand where they're coming from, right? And she said, what do you mean? I said, I can't believe my kids aren't coming to see me. I said, well, if they've got their rules and you have your rules and they don't jive, then that's the way it is. And she's like, oh, I really never thought of it that way. I said, yeah. If you're sitting there saying I'm not getting vaccinated, which is fine, then don't be surprised if people say, well, I'm not coming to see your ass if you're not vaccinated because I don't want to go through this crap. And she's, well, I haven't gotten COVID. And I said, you haven't got it yet. Neither have I. But I'm vaccinated. So anyway, do what you want to do. And I hope you are remembering to be thankful for everything we have going on in this wonderful world of ours.